Greetings people, it's Paul at Greenshire Homestead. I'm going to do a video here on my water catchment system. What we've got here in this shop, all of my tanks are inside. I don't have anything outside exposed to the weather or the sun. Water stays nice and clean this way. The other advantage I have here is I don't have any trees around my shop. This is a 1,200 square foot roof that we've got here, and there's no trees around it, so the rain falls on a steel roof, and then it comes through the rain gutter, through the wall over here, and into these tanks. So it's about as clean as it can be. We don't use this water for our consumption. We use it for the irrigating our berries in our garden, and then for our animals, watering our animals. We got two 275 gallon tanks here, and then on the other side of the shop it's set up the same way, where water comes in through the off the rain gutter on the other side over there. We've got a 1,050 gallon tank over there. So, and then down in our other shop we've got a couple of these 275 gallon tanks down there too. So all together we're collecting about 2,200 gallons of rainwater, and I have this system in place where the water comes in and then it has an outlet. So if these tanks, because of the way I've got this set up here, the water just comes into this tank right here, and then through this apparatus here it fills both tanks equally, because water's going to find its level. So it's going to come into this tank, through this pipe, and then into this tank, so they're both going to rise at the same time. And then when the tanks are full, I got this is screwed on here to so no water can get out of here. And then when the water does fill up in these tanks, I've got this relief valve right here, which takes the water out of the shop through the wall. So during this video I'm going to show you how I did that. And then on the other side, with the 1,000 gallon tank, I don't have a relief valve over there because the tank holds 1,000 gallons. I can monitor it more closely. But like I said, this is a 1,200 square foot shop. So this side of the shop is 600 square feet. So 1 inch of rain is going to give me about 525 gallons of water. And these are each 275 gallon tanks. So 1 inch of rain is going to pretty well fill these up. And I don't want to be either in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, or gone somewhere and be late, worried about, oh, we're going to get over an inch of rain, my tanks are going to fill up, and then of course water would come sloshing out of the top and all over the floor of my shop. That is a problem I don't want to have. So that's why I put in this relief valve. This thing will just let water flow out. These tanks can be completely full, and we still get another inch of rain, and all of it's going to go out the shop. So I'm going to show you what I've done there. Also, I've got this section of pipe here. I'm going to show you what I'm doing with that. That is going to be I'm going to trench these are all 2-inch lines here. So we're going to have a 2-inch line trenched down to our garden. We've only been on this homestead 4 years. We sold the last one because the kids were gone and what have you, and we downsized, smaller house, smaller ground, and all that kind of thing. So we're still building some infrastructure. So I'm going to trench this 2-inch line down to the garden, which is about 80 yards. So it's going to be a little bit of work, but these have shutoff valves on them, and I'm going to show you all that up a little closer. But I can shut these valves off and hook this section up here where it runs water down to the garden, and then I can just open both flanges. So when I open both of those valves, both of these tanks will at the same time fill into this 2-inch line and run them down to the garden. So after I get that water line run down the garden, I can just hook a hose, garden hose onto that, and then just walk around and water my garden. Right now, what I've been doing for the last 4 years, I've got these I call it a bathtub attachment because it looks like the water in your bathtub. I can unscrew these. I shut the valve and then I can unscrew these. No water is going to come out because the valve's shut. So I can unscrew this and then I can screw this bathtub section on there, and then I take these 5-gallon buckets, and I fill up 2 5-gallon buckets and carry it down there and water the garden that way, which that just takes a long time. It's a lot of work, so this is going to be a lot more efficient. And once I get this line trenched here, I'm going to hook that 1,000-gallon tank over there up to this line as well. So I'm going to have some 1,600 gallons of water that's going to be able to flow down there to my garden, all in one fell swoop. So I also have a way of connecting and disconnecting the rain gutters. So after these tanks are full, all I got to do is disconnect this up here and hook the downspout back up so the water goes out and away from these tanks without using that relief valve. So I've got quite a system going here. I'm going to show you how this works, and then we're going to go outside and I'm going to show you how I disconnect this system over here. And it's very, very quick and very efficient. So I'll grab the camera, bring it over here, and we'll show you what I got going. So you can see here, you can see where the water comes in through the wall, and I did put a rubber boot. I don't know if you can see that. It's just a section of rubber garden hose I put around the inside of that metal, because that's sharp and I didn't want it to cut my plastic. All that is it's an accordion style tube. I got that at Home Depot, and on the outside you'll see that it has a rectangular section that will hook right onto an existing downspout. So that's a real neat piece of equipment there. It was like $5 at Home Depot, and it's expandable. You can make it longer or shorter. It hooks into that 4-inch pipe right there, and I've got these wires that suspend it to the ceiling, just because when it's full of water it's on the heavy side. But I have all this where it can come apart. It's just I've got tape holding those joints together. But then over here, this is all glued together here. So I've got this 4-inch line that comes down into this tank through the lid, and then this is a 3-inch line. So I've got the 45 here. So when the tanks are full, the water will come up from the top of the tank. It'll fill up in this pipe here, and then as soon as it hits that 45, then it goes out along that 3-inch pipe, and then all the way down and out through the wall of the shop. I think you can see that real well. So that is how I have set up my relief, so that when the tanks are full, the water goes out. And the way I set this pipe down in there, this pipe goes down through that cap about 6 inches down into the tank. So the caps are removable. This is the same as that cap over there. So what I did was I stuck that 4-inch pipe right here inside this cap, using the other one of course, and then I took a pencil and I drew a line on the outside of that pipe all the way around so I could see exactly where that pipe would fit through. Then I drilled a few pilot holes on the inside of that pencil line, and then I just took my jigsaw and I cut all the way around, and then the pipe slid right on in there, and I just screwed this back on the top of the tank and I stuck the pipe right down through. I think you can get your head around that without any problem. So after I stuck the pipe down in there, I needed a way of securing the pipe, making it watertight. So I wrapped this, I took some black tape and put it around the pipe. Just that gave me the right depth at which the pipe went down into the through the cap. That's the only thing that does. And then I took this piece of wire and I twisted it real tight around the pipe, so that when I stuck the pipe down in, that would hold it at the depth that I wanted it. So none of this was on there yet. This is just a separate pipe where this fitting goes on. So if you can picture, I had this pipe sticking out of the cap that far, and then on the inside of the cap, where the pipe meets the inside of the cap, I took beeswax from one of my beehives, and I mashed that in there real tight, So underneath this red cap, right where it meets the pipe, is a section of beeswax, and that's real structurally sound and watertight, because that's like what they use to, when you set your toilet on the floor in your bathroom, there's a beeswax there's a circular thing of beeswax that they set on the floor, and then they set the toilet down on that because it makes such a good water seal. That's where I got the idea. And then on the top here, where the wire is, I took some really good quality silicone and put that on there, just so I've got the beeswax sealing the inside and I got the silicone sealing the outside. And I've had several hundred gallons, probably thousands of gallons flow through this thing, and it has never ever leaked. So like I said, this has been in place for about 3 years, and it's never leaked. So that sucker, that really works well. And then here you got, these are the shutoff valves I spoke about. So right now that valve is shut, and all I got to do, now it's open, and now it's shut. So once it you know, you hear a little bit of water running. These tanks are mostly empty because right now it's February, and I don't leave them full in the wintertime because I don't want the, you know, they are going to freeze even though they're inside, and I don't want them to, the water to expand and crack my tanks, so they're empty. But there's just a little bit of residual water in the very bottom there. So these are not glued together. None of these pipes are glued. They're all just tight fit. That way I can take this all apart if I need to. This piece right here screws on. This valve is threaded, so this piece screws on, and then everything else is just slid together. So what I do when I've got the water running through is I take some heavy gauge wire and I wrap it around this section of the cage, and then I wrap it tightly. I bring it from that section of cage around the pipe and then back to the section of cage, and that keeps it from wanting to pop off from the pressure of the water coming out. So that's how I hold those. I do the same thing over there. So when it's time to water, I'll just open both of these flanges, and then the water will go through these pipes, out that pipe, and, you know, down through the pipe that I'm going to bury underground. And that's how I water my garden. It is very important. Obviously water's going to run downhill, so before you cut a hole in your shop, you need to know exactly how high your system over here is going to be. So get your first tank set up and ready for plumbing, so that you know exactly where this section of pipe is going to meet up at your wall, so that you know you've got a downhill. Because if you just figure, okay, my tank is this high, and then you end up putting your hole through the wall there just above that 2x6, because that's higher than the tank, you might think, okay, I'm okay, but then, you know, you got all this other stuff here you got to add to the tank, and that's going to raise it up significantly. That's probably over a foot. That's probably 14 inches there. So get that situation all figured out, and then have your pipe hooked in there, and then you'll see for sure. That way you'll know for sure where you got a downhill run. Otherwise, it's not going to work. The water's going to flow backwards and go outside the wall instead of coming into your tank. So, I'll show you the tank on the other side. So that's my 1,000-gallon tank here. As you can see, I don't have any pipe hooked up to that. I just use that with the 5-gallon buckets as well. But eventually, I'm going to bring a pipe out of the fitting there. I'll actually probably turn the tank so that fitting there comes out over there, and then because the pipe that comes through the wall there is flexible, I can just move that whole apparatus over here, and that way once I get that over there, it'll be easier to run my pipe along the wall over there and then hook it into those tanks over there. So you can see how that'll go. I'll have another pipe coming off over there, go right along the back of that wall, and then hook right into this tank here. So I do have the same setup where it hooks up to the rain gutter outside, and then it feeds through into here. I have this screen on here for 2 reasons. That keeps any debris. Like I said, there's no trees around this shop, so we don't really get the debris, but if there were to be some debris, the screen catches it. but more importantly, it keeps mosquitoes from going in there and breeding and causing me a lot of problems. So I would recommend this seal right here. It's got screws in it, and you just unscrew the seal, this black seal here, take it off, lay your screen down, and then put that right back on and screw it on, and then, it's nice and tight that way. This is good and tight. So water just flows right out of that pipe and into this tank. And because this holds 1,000 gallons, it's going to take quite a bit of rain to fill this up. It's going to take a good 2 inches of rain to fill this tank up. So I've got plenty of time, to come out and disconnect it from the rain gutter and stop the water from coming into it. That's why I don't worry too much about an outlet on this tank. Now I'll go out and show you how I have it hooked up to the rain gutters. Okay, here's the pipe where it goes through the wall, and this is the downspout. So it's not hooked up to the tanks right now. So all I've got to do to hook it up to the tanks is remove 2 screws. That one. And that one. Very simple. Drop that down. And see, I put this flange on here. I just took some just metal, what do they call that? It's just a flat piece of metal. I forget what they call that, but anyway, it's real thin and it's real pliable, and I just wrapped that around, and then I sprayed the inside of that. I took some silicone and put that in there, and the reason I did that was now it's very simple for me to just that downspout up there slides right into this, so it makes it very simple. All I have to do is bring this out like that, slide it in, put those 2 screws in. See, that's really, really simple. I don't have to work on lining that up or anything. That collar makes it slide right on. Flashing, that's what that black stuff's called. That thin metal is called flashing. Now when I'm going to hook the downspout up, I just lay this down, and I take this brick and I put this brick on it. And, that's just thin aluminum and plastic, and when the wind blows through there, it'll grab that aluminum and start flinging it around. Might damage my solar panels. So once that's out of the way, I set a bucket there, get up on the bucket, and here's that rectangular section I was talking about. That just slides right on to the downspout. I've got this wire here. I just take that wire, wrap it around just to hold it on there so the pressure of the water doesn't push it off. That's hooked up. It's ready to go. As the water comes out of that rain gutter, it's going to come down that downspout, and then it's going to go right into the tanks, and it's that simple. That's all I got to do. So after the tank, like I said, after the tanks are full, they're good and full, and I'm not going to need any more water in them for a while. Just get my bucket back out, unhook that wire, get it out of the way, disconnect that. Got my downspout. Slide that collar right on there. It holds itself in place while I get the screws, which I stepped on and pushed down into the mud. Then all I got to do is line the screws up with the existing holes. Done. It's that easy and that quick. So now the water is going to come down, from the rain gutter, down the downspout, through the pipe, and out. And that is all there is to it. It is that simple. And it's exactly the same way on the other side of the shop. We've got the exact same setup. So you just do that on both sides, and there you go. It's that quick and it's that easy. So, like I said, just got to make sure that this hole is high enough, that it runs downhill to your water tank. So that's it. Nothing else to it. Great water catchment system. Here's the. I wanted to show you that real quick. There's the pipe water the outlet. Those tanks sit on the other side of this wall. Those two 275 gallon tanks sit right there. So that's the 3-inch outlet pipe right there that you can see sticking through the wall. And I got a couple of bricks buried right under the grass there, so as the water comes out, it doesn't dig a trench. And then the 1,000 gallon tank is down there at that end of the shop. So when that 2-inch line is going to come out underneath the shop wall right about there, and then it'll go down across here through the chicken yard and down there to that corner of the garden. And then I'll just put a 5/8 inch outlet on that 2-inch pipe, and then I can just screw a garden hose on it and then walk around in the garden with the garden hose. It's going to be I think it's going to work really well. Once I get that all installed and I start actually watering the garden with the garden hose, I'll shoot a video to show you guys how that worked out. But I can't think of why it wouldn't. So Paul at Greenshire Homestead, you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Good luck with your water catchment, and we'll talk to you next time.